Hi, Kim from Expression Artworks. I am super excited to be making a new project with you. I had gotten these transfers from Essential Stencil. They're vintage trucks. There are different sizes, colors, styles of trucks. Some of them have these beautiful flowers, as you could see here. And they give you two sheets, so the second sheet has other trucks on them as well as flowers too. And hopefully you could see them pretty well without seeing a glare. And I chose to do this one for this project on the bottom right. And I have my 8 by 10 inch piece of wood. I have my white chalk paint by Folk Art for my background color, and I have an antique wax that's also by Folk Art. And I'm going to be using that towards the end. It's kind of going to add as a detail to that rustic vibe and vintage style using the spatula. And I'm just kind of going to go around the edges and maybe some on the surface, kind of dirtying up the sign a little bit, making it a little grungy to go with the vintage truck. I have these stencils that I'll be using. They're stencil words. One says vintage and the other is truck. So I decided to use them both, and I'm going to be putting the vintage on the top left corner. And then with the truck, I'm just using to the far right, and I'm going to center it. And then right in this open spot here is where I'm going to put the transfer. So the first thing I want to do is to get my wood painted. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to give it a nice one coat of paint. I feel like that's all it needs. And I'm just going to make sure that I paint all around the surface of the wood and, of course, the edges. And also with this piece of wood, like I mentioned, it's 8 by 10, but the diameter of the wood is 3/4 inch, which is a perfect size for having it stand freely. In other words, you don't have to have it as a wall hanging. It'll stand by itself on its own on any flat surface. Now I'm just going to thoroughly dry it because I want to make sure that it is fully dry before putting my stencil on, and especially the transfer, because the transfer won't adhere to the wood if the paint isn't fully dry. So I'm just placing my wording where I want it, and I'm using a blue paint that is also by Folk Art. I tend to use Folk Art a lot. I just prefer them, but I do use different brands of paints as well. And while I'm stenciling this on, I am not looking for a crisp, opaque kind of look. I'm having some areas where I'm going a little bit, like I'm adding a little bit more pressure or having a little bit more of the paint come on, and some areas of the letters will be more faded. So I'm going a little bit lighter. And I like that look where the letters look a little bit faded because it goes with this style. So now I'm cutting out my transfer. Just peeling away the back. Deciding where I want it on the sign, and then I'll take my scraper and I'll just start applying pressure and going in all different directions, just making sure that the transfer fully adheres. I really, my main concern here were the flowers because they are so delicate. So I just wanted to make sure that as I was peeling up that I was taking my time, and if I noticed anything that wasn't that like wanted to lift back up and didn't want to adhere, I just pressed it right back down and applied more pressure. Once I got past the flowers, it just came off really easily. think it came out really nice, and I like it with the blue. So my last step here again is what I was talking about before with the antique wax, and I'm taking the spatula and just kind of lightly dipping it in, and I'm going around the edges, like I said, adding to that rustic feel. There's my finished project. Thank you so much for watching.